Hello, I'm BrigantiaBlackbird of Blackbird's Brew. Happy Thursday and welcome back to the series Witch Life. This month we're talking about building personal traditions, and today it's all about rooting where we are planted. Pagans do quite a bit of research, don't they? And witches are no exception to this rule. If anything, the nature of our discipline requires us to study things that wouldn't be pertinent to other paths. But it isn't just the hows and the whats. We can fall down quite the rabbit hole of history, ancient culture, linguistics, comparative mythology, and then face the never-ending challenge to try and retain all that information. The danger is that we get so consumed with the information gathering and trying to figure out practical application and understanding our own personal whys that we end up losing sight of another vital element in this spiritual equation: where we actually are and when we are. This is particularly significant for pagans in the United States. Every group of people who live on this soil have ancestors that immigrated from elsewhere in the world at some point in time. This includes the Native American tribes, whom we know came over from Asia in the much distant past. But the point is that we do have a multi-ethnic nation. More people than ever can trace their family trees from all over the world. So when it comes time for an American pagan to look into their ancestral roots as a starting point of figuring out which gods and ideas they might connect with best, it can be quite a complicated proposition. What adds another challenge is that our fellow pagans, our cousins from other nations, may have very firm ideas about how to practice, what's valid, what isn't, and a general conviction that Americans are going about the whole business sideways. And because they live on these ancestral grounds where the first tribes of people came to be acquainted with the gods we're trying to get acquainted with ourselves, I think it has the consequence, and it's quite natural for us to perhaps assign a little bit more deference to their viewpoints than what we ordinarily would if we felt more confident within ourselves. One useful lesson that I've gleaned from my research and noticing the regional differences of the past and just how things evolved through time is that the common saying that gets thrown around that there's no one right way to be a pagan or a witch is literally true. There has never been only one right way. We are not part of a revealed religion in which there are universally recognized prophets and a standardized text that we can refer to. Nor are we part of a world-denying religion in which our focus is solely on getting to a preferable afterlife with only limited interest in the physical observable world. And neither is paganism centralized with a single governing authority, not in the modern era and not in ancient times. What actually matters is learning the lessons from the lore we've inherited and working towards establishing relationships with the gods. We do not live in the world of our ancestors. The implications of how much the culture has changed, as well as method of governance, economic realities, technology, all of these things, it just cannot be overstated. It is profound. This is why efforts to reconstruct ancient pagan religions can only provide so much benefit. It isn't just human society that has changed. The gods themselves have changed. They don't remain static. They continue to have experiences and grow and evolve, even if we are unaware of the details. The additional factor that so many of us are living in lands that are an ocean away from where our ancestors lived is something we would do well to take into consideration. I honestly believe we do remain connected to the gods and our ancestors wherever we go and wherever we happen to live, but the local spirits of the lands will vary. How can we be tuned in with our practice if all of our knowledge is focused upon spirits who are half a world away? But it isn't just the spirits. The native animals, plants, and even stones all have energies that are specific to the place in which they reside. Even the dead, the ones whose souls might be lingering on this side of the veil for whatever reason, they are likely to be tethered to specific places, specific people. They are of where they're at. And our pagan ancestors' traditions reflected the realities of their environments, their local histories, their personal histories, their family traditions, and the energies they were in contact with where they lived. And this is the real point of this video. For far too long, American practitioners have placed too much emphasis on how things are done elsewhere in the world and the opinions of people who don't live where we live. And this has distracted us from exploring the unique magical atmosphere of where we live. Now, when I'm speaking of where we live, I'm not necessarily talking about the whole country. The United States is a very large country, and it's a bit overwhelming to take all that on in the beginning. But what about the state we live in, or the county, or the town? How much are we actually aware of locally? What mythological creatures are thought to have resided where we are? What are the local myths and legends? What natural places have you visited or gotten to live nearby? And when you were there, you just noticed there was an extra charge in the atmosphere. What animals, plants, and stones are native to your area, and what is their spiritual nature? What sort of climate are you in, and what patterns have you noticed, and have you allowed this to actually affect your ideas and your practice? How much of the local history do you know? And when you look into it, do you notice if the scholars are in agreement or disagreement about all of the various whys and wherefores? The more you read about history, the more complicated you realize it is. And what about local culture? In the United States, we have various cultural influences that originate from where people originally immigrated from. But we also have this overarching American culture, as well as culture that is developed specifically within the particular state in which we live, and then local traditions of the county, the town, even our own families. These are all components of the whole culture in which we are saturated. The art, music, dance, architecture, landscaping, culinary arts, crafts, historical sites, natural sites, it all comes together to make a greater whole. And where do we see the fingertips of the gods around us? They're not just, interacting with people who happen to go to the old holy sites or who happen to live in the ancestral lands. If we have connected with the gods, then that means they are involved where we are. We just need to open our minds, our physical senses, our psychic senses, and actually look for these influences. Have we made ourselves a part of our local surroundings, or have we not? That is the main point. We are not practicing somewhere else in the world a few hundred or thousand years back into history. We are living here in the present day, and our business is to construct our practice on that basis. Paganism and witchcraft will continue to develop, and despite our interconnected world, regional differences can and will continue to emerge. This is a good thing. It is a natural thing. It's how it ought to be. And as individual practitioners, we have a contribution to make that can be built upon so that in the future, when people think about, okay, what did it mean to be pagan in this particular area of the world, people can have something to actually refer to. And I hope that more of us will take on the challenge to forge a pagan path that's rooted in our real surroundings, in real time, and to let go of the distraction posed by the expectations of others. So that's what I have to say on this relatively controversial topic. Let me know what your own opinions are, either in the comments section below or come see us on Discord at Blackbird's Brew. As always, there's a link to join in the description box below. You're very welcome to join us. I would enjoy a conversation with you. So hopefully we will see you soon. But that'll do it for this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.